welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast, the podcast where three men get drunk and gripe about horror movies.
Big boobs.
You know what I mean?
Welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast. We are starting the Halloween retrospective today. I'm John.
Ben.
Cobra.
And this is Ben's favorite horror series.
Yes, it is.
So we are going to have some debating here.
And it's my favorite two movies from said series.
I will admit, the first Halloween is superb.
The second one,
Fan-fucking-tastic.
The second one's great.
it's good. It lacks a lot. We'll get into that later.
It's in the upper echelon of slashers, but it's really no different than a formulaic slasher. So
exactly the same.
I think the second one has some really good suspenseful moments.
Now, you're the only one, but we'll get into that.
Taking place in a hospital helps it.
Yeah, I think that helps.
But
I've seen
The second one kinda gets
that
weird,
visiting
though.
hours
The
takes
second
place in a
one gets-
hospital, so...
Like the first one. Well, I guess we'll just start out. We'll just stick to the first one. Michael Myers. It's not really explained. There's no backstory given. The beginning of the movie is just
Sure there is.
this kid, but it's not yet.
Rob Zombie's Halloween will explain it, and then you can watch this one. Watch it in that
Oh
order.
yeah, that's a great idea. Rob Zombie.
Was a disturbed child.
Rob Zombie okay.
is a statement.
The movie starts, and they're not telling you anything. You find out it's Halloween night, and Michael Myers has a clown outfit on.
1963.
It's 1963.
Haddonfield, Illinois.
And his sister is fucking some guy. It's not really sure who. It's just some dude.
They have sex for about
30 seconds.
35 seconds, yeah.
I guess, credit to him, though, because if she'll put up with it, good for him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
He
It's all
goes
about
upstairs,
me.
he's like, oh, he's like, alright, see you tomorrow.
Michael Myers sees this, and already at this point in the movie, it's kind of setting up the template, which is you're getting his first-person view, which doesn't really continue throughout the series as much as it does in the first one. But the first one is also different from the rest of the movies in that there's very little killing compared to the other ones. It's mostly just him, following and stalking. And the first one doesn't delve into, I guess you could almost say supernatural elements that you'll find in a lot of the other movies.
Until the very end.
Until the very end, yeah. So the movie starts out, and he walks up into the room, and he slashes his sister to death with what appears to be a butcher's knife.
Who is naked, by the way.
Who
We
is
get our
naked,
first boob in the
and
first
they
5
are
minutes.
big.
And bloodied.
Well, yeah, that kind of ruined it for me, because
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how I should feel about looking at these dead kids.
I was okay with it.
Yeah, why,
So he goes outside, his parents come home, and he's just standing there all fucking confused looking. He's just this little blonde
I
kid.
wouldn't even say confused looking. He just had a look of,
Blank.
a blank
Blank.
look, yeah. Just a completely blank look on his face. Now, the stabbing scene, I had a little bit of trouble with.
First of all, what if you get stabbed once? Wouldn't you just super kick a 6-year-old through
Yeah.
the wall?
Yeah, he's just like,
Yeah, she
No.
says Michael, and I would have been like, oh!
surely
Yeah.
this woman is about 4 times his size. She could have fought back, but, then we wouldn't have a movie if she did. So she just kind of sits there and takes it. And he stabs her 10 or 12 times while she's kind of curling up on the floor and going, "No, Michael! Michael, why? No, Michael!"
So it cuts to how many years later? 18?
I
Is it
believe so.
18
It's
years
like
later?
19. What
15.
years?
15 years later.
So it's 1978 now.
Yeah.
So we go to 1978, and we see
Smith Grove?
Smith Grove Mental Asylum, and the venerable Dr. Sam Loomis,
Played by Donald Pleasance.
by Donald Pleasance, who's probably the best actor of the series until he died. in
And Daniel
60.
Harris is close.
Yeah.
Donald
But-
Pleasance was born on my daughter's birthday, October 5th.
1919, I believe.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Yeah.
You do your research. Good boy.
This is my series. I got to take point on this. Donald Pleasance is driving to the insane asylum, and you're kind of filled in that Michael Myers was his patient. Donald Pleasance is a psychiatrist, and I'm forgetting the term that you told me where they fill you in by giving
Exposition.
It's an exposition
Yep.
scene where Donald Pleasance is talking to a nurse, and he's just kind of basically giving the audience all the facts they need to be caught up onto the situation. He's been locked up. He's going to be, I don't know if he's going to be transferred, but he's going to be evaluated to see if he is
He's going to be transferred. Yeah, he is
Okay.
being transferred.
And Donald Pleasance gets there to the insane asylum, and they look around, and okay, there's like a bunch of nutbags just kind of wandering around.
Where
In the
was
middle of the night.
security?
Yeah, well, I guess they're the security.
It's like a lightning
If I was
storm
security, I'd be
going
like,
on
I'm not going
outside.
fucking near them.
Yeah, and there's just a whole bunch of them just wandering around.
Mm.
And I didn't realize this the first time I saw the movie, that it was Michael Myers that like jumps on the car and stuff like that. I never realized that.
Just thought it was some crazy
I just
dude.
thought it was some just random nutbag. I thought like Michael Myers would be more, I don't know, I just didn't
Stab people and
It
pull
just
them out.
didn't fit. Yeah, you know, 'cause I didn't see number 1 first. I saw number 2 first. So like
Oh,
when I
okay.
first saw this and I see this crazy guy jump up on the car, I'm kind of like, that doesn't seem like Michael Myers, because he wasn't like, I mean, he was an asshole, but he wasn't like.
He didn't have the moves later on in the series that he had at the very
Oh
beginning.
my
Let's put
God.
it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He was a
When he
little more
gets
limber.
shot at the end is amazing.
So he steals the car from the nurse. Then I
Now
think
he
it
went
cuts
away
to
when he was
credits.
6, and this was brought up. It's like, how the fuck does he even know how to drive?
Oh yeah.
And Loomis just gives a half-hearted, weak-ass attempt at explaining that little plot point out and saying, well, somebody
They
showed
did
him
a pretty
here.
good job last
Yeah.
night. And
Yeah.
you're like,
Well,
oh well,
like,
I
somebody
accept it
showed
then.
him here.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is going to teach somebody how to drive in an insane asylum?
The security guard, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, here, take it out for a spin. No, but he's great. He signals and everything as he's driving.
Oh
out.
yeah, he does.
He knows exactly what the fuck he's doing when he gets behind the wheel. That's his escape, basically. He just kind of pulls the nurse out of the car and drives off. Now, this is kind of interesting, and you're going to see this more throughout Halloween 1, and this is a huge... This is one of the huge changes they made between 1 and even 2 and into the rest of it. In Halloween 1, he's not just killing everyone that he comes in contact with, which completely changes. In Halloween 1, he only kills the people that he's targeting, and everybody else, they just kind of like walk
But he
by.
targets them randomly, and they don't change that until 2. It is random. Even Jamie Lee Curtis's character, random.
In
There's
1,
supposed to be
yeah, there's no connection.
3 random
Yeah, she just
babysitters.
showed up at the house with that key
Yeah.
for her dad.
That's right. He was in the house.
And he
He
was in
saw
the
her,
house.
and he's like, "Okay, that's who I'm gonna kill then."
Yeah.
done.
But he's not. I guess what I'm trying to say, he's not just killing everyone that he comes. Like there's
No.
one. I think it's Halloween 4 where he just throws that construction worker into the
Yeah.
power plant or whatever, and it's like,
Well, it's a convenience to get the electric in the city out.
yeah,
that's
I
why.
know, but it's just like,
What's he doing out there, fucking 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night anyway?
hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And he just picks him up and chucks him.
Well,
But,
So he comes into he doesn't kill everybody he comes in contact with because he runs into that kid at the school and just lets him go.
yeah.
And that kid ends up being Paul Rudd in part 6. Yeah,
We
can't
don't
wait
need
for
to talk
that.
About that one.
So he's driving around in the Smith's Grove car, and we meet Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, and the 2 other girls.
It's now Halloween
Yeah,
Day.
it's Halloween.
Everything's green because it was filmed in California, but that's okay. You can even see a palm tree in one of the scenes.
Oh God.
She sees him, I believe the first time she sees him, he's still in the car, and
I have this on here somewhere.
He gets out and looks in the window, and then he's just gone.
yeah, and the
Yeah,
other
she
thing
drops
is-
that key off at the Myers house with Tommy, and she's like, she's babysitting them later that night. But then they go to school, and the teacher's talking about fate. Fate. She mentions fate like 5 different times, and that's when Laurie looks out the window and sees him in the car.
Now he doesn't have a mask yet, does he?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
does
he does.
He broke into the hardware store and stole
that's
a rope
right.
and a mask.
Even
yeah.
though the hardware
Because-
store wasn't broken into yet, I don't think.
So if somebody breaks into your hardware
Because
store,
it happens a lot later on in the
Yeah.
movie.
so if somebody breaks into your hardware store, which by the way for a break-in, that was quite a crime scene. There were like 12 cops
Yeah.
there. It's
Well, they don't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
All right, let's all go there.
like
Yeah, I mean,
they
that's
go,
like
he
literally-
stole some knives, a mask, and some rope.
No big
That
deal.
sounds like a fucking rape kit to me.
Yeah.
Like that sounds like something that you take out to the jogging path, or like anybody that buys that combination.
But they aren't at all concerned.
They're
about-
just like,
they're
well,
some
bunch of
kids
kids.
took some rope and
It's like
knives.
somebody took a
and then-
rope.
I mean, it's so later on in the movie too, and he already has the mask in these scenes, which is
It's-
hysterical.
It's a rope, some knives, and a mask. It's like if somebody's stealing that.
Probably just kids playing pranks in there.
Probably just kids taking the exactly the stuff you would need to tie people up and kill them.
Yeah.
It's- I don't know.
So
It just
Loomis is
kinda-
convinced he's heading towards Haddonfield, and he finds the truck or the car abandoned, And then he finds a truck abandoned.
Yeah, Phelps's.
Yeah, and
something like
Michael Myers
Phelps's
took that
garage.
guy's clothes and left his dead body over in a pile of weeds.
And you see the Red Rabbit matches that the nurse was smoking in the first one.
That's
I don't
right.
know why it was significant, but
Just
they
to
were
say,
out of
hey,
the
he
crime
was
scene.
here.
Yeah, I was here. Whatever.
And then he goes to a graveyard and
Steals a gravestone.
well, Michael Myers steals the gravestone, but Loomis goes to the graveyard to look for this tombstone, and it's gone.
And it's gone. Oh, it's damn kids.
Yeah, again,
I don't know what kind of kids
these
are in
kids
that town.
steal
Yeah.
knives, rope, and gravestones.
Tommy walks
play
out of
an
school at
awesome
one
prank.
point with a pumpkin, and these three kids kind
A
of
bunch of dicks.
shove him,
Boogeyman,
trip him over,
Boogeyman, coming
and he
to get
breaks
ya.
his pumpkin, and Michael Myers kind of runs into one of the kids and just leaves him alone and kind of follows Tommy as he's walking across the playground.
Get to hang out with Lori and her two friends, and her one friend keeps saying totally.
Linda, PJ
100
Souls.
times, yeah.
Someone said that my girlfriend was telling me they told her to talk like that. It is so obnoxious.
Just use the word totally over and over again. She says it for everything. So they're walking. Michael Myers pops out from behind a bush and just stands there.
Yeah, for
And
like
that's
a second.
so creepy.
Mm-hmm.
And they get there and he's gone, and then
And that's the thing too. When Michael Myers in Halloween 1, because it doesn't really do this again for a while. When he's doing this stalking, where he's just kind of following people, he's doing it in broad daylight. This isn't like
Yeah, wouldn't people notice that this guy in a mask is just creeping
Yeah, but it's
around?
It's
Halloween.
Halloween now. That's a thing.
you're not gonna care, yeah.
I might care still.
Well, nowadays, yeah. Nowadays, everybody's a pedophile. If you see
Well,
them on the-
nowadays
if they
it's
look
like-
at your kid, they're probably a pedophile.
Yeah,
so.
especially if they do it like this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No one could see that, but that was inappropriate.
We meet. Which one of the kids has the dad for the police
Annie.
officer? Annie's dad is a police officer. We meet him.
At the hardware store, I believe.
Well, twice. We meet him twice. He stops by to see if they need a ride.
Oh yeah.
And then they get in a car later and they're smoking pot, including Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Right, but she was unwitting.
I don't think that makes a difference. God damn it.
It does. You can do drugs in horror movies as long as you didn't want to do them.
To be honest, so this was
Was it
1978.
peer pressure?
This is 1978, and those rules weren't necessarily in place.
I think they were. I think they were in place for this. I think this movie established them.
I don't know, because only 3 people die in this movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If
And guess what? The first one was fucking. The second
the
one
first
was
2 were fucking.
Yeah.
Actually, the cop dad scares Lori, and she's like looking behind her
Oh,
after
yeah.
the Michael Myers scene, and he's standing like right in front of her. And he's like, "Oh, everyone's entitled to one scare," or something like that, before the hardware store incident.
We're not doing this very linear, are we?
No, we're not. We're just kind of all over the place.
Well, the beginning is all prologue anyway.
It doesn't matter. There's just a lot happening going on in town.
Yeah.
They're switching back and forth. You've really got like kind of 3 things going on. You've got Loomis, you've got the girls, and you've got Michael Myers.
Yeah.
And all 3 of these, they're kind of switching back and forth between it. I think at this point, this is about the point where Loomis makes it into Haddonfield. Well, no, he's already there. But this is where he warns.
Tells the sheriff he needs a little bit of his time. He's standing there looking one way, and Michael Myers drives behind him just as he turns his head.
It's conveniently.
You're like, no!
This sheriff tended to not piss me off. Actually,
He wasn't too terrible.
to be honest, actually most
he
of the
didn't
cops.
seem to do a whole lot though.
But he wasn't
Sheriff-
like the other cops where he's like, I don't think he's here, shut up.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, well,
he was like
that's a legitimate
receptive to the
concern.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, clearly this guy escaped. He's back. So they go to the Myers house, and Loomis freaks
Scares
out a
his
little
kids.
bit, and pulls his gun out, and
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"How do I get out my gun?" He goes, "Oh, I'm just a tad bit afraid," which he should be.
And then he does an exposition. He's like, you see, I'm going to tell you a long story.
Yeah, and then he fills in sheriff.
Yeah.
It's drawn out.
A little bit. He scares some kids outside, too, which is one of my favorite parts in the movie. Those kids are
That's
there.
those kids that bullied Tommy.
Yeah.
Now, Loomis made an odd call here, and I'm not really sure if I agreed with it.
Hmm.
He said, the sheriff is like, well, we gotta fucking get shit on the radio, we gotta do all stuff, and he's like, no, don't do that. Just let it go, and if we find him, we find him. We don't. It's kind of like what it seemed like. I'd be like, get an all points
think-
bulletin out there, get the National Guard in.
Loomis may cause a few more deaths than he helps out with, to be honest with you, sometimes.
By the time the series is over,
Yeah.
he's responsible for like 10.
So they decide they're going to get the police force on it. And they're going to keep their eyes open, but they're not going to go SWAT team like they did in 4
No,
or 5.
they're just gonna like.
Was it
you
5
know,
or 4 when they had the SWAT
4.
team?
Yeah, they just decided they're gonna
Yeah, it
look
was-
for. There's one guy. They don't know. He escaped from somewhere. It's not like he's what he ends up being. He's just a dude.
Yeah.
So
At this point, I believe Lori is now watching Tommy, and Annie is babysitting Lindsay, and they're on the phone in separate rooms. They're not even watching the kids, not even paying attention to them.
well, Lindsay has no problem. She's like a zombie with a TV.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely
And
correct.
like, apparently they have an agreement with the. She has an agreement with the kid, like, you let me fuck upstairs, and I'll let you watch TV and get you ice cream.
Something
and shit
like that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, we have an agreement. Like, I remember her saying that, and I was like, it's nice.
Yeah. Tommy looks out of the window and he sees Michael Myers.
The bookie
Right
man's
outside,
The bookie man.
Lindsay's house. It's not Annie's house, right? She's babysitting Lindsay, so it's Lindsay's house.
Yeah.
And he goes, the boogeyman's out there. And she's like, no, he's not. Which is funny because she'd seen him like 12 times. And she just discounts it like it couldn't even possibly be true.
And Michael Myers does his best Michael Vick impression, and I believe he kills a dog.
He
Right
picks
at
it up
this
and
scene.
like bear hugs it
Just
to
bear
death.
hugs
Yeah.
it.
Squeezes
kills
it to
it.
death.
Which is funny because that bothers a lot of people.
Yeah, they can watch 15 people die, and as soon as a dog gets hurt, they're like,
They're
no.
just like, oh, what are you? Which, by the way, that's another plot device, and I'm getting off track here.
Once you kill an animal, you are the ultimate evil.
You are, exactly.
Yeah.
And directors use that over and over and over again. If they want you to hate somebody more than anything, they will have that person kill an animal during the course of filming.
Boyfriend calls and wants to.
Paul, I
Paul,
believe
yeah,
is his name.
he wants to have some sex.
So she's going to drop the girl off with the other babysitter.
And meanwhile, Michael Myers is outside pulling potted plants off the porch and acting like a total
Smash 'em.
weirdo.
It's
So-
incredible, though, that he knew, well,
He followed them all day long. Like he
Yeah.
followed him in that car that one scene for
a while.
a long
She
time.
goes, speed kills.
Yeah,
And
he's a pretty
like,
good stalker, no
Yeah.
doubt.
I don't know how he honed his skills.
That's what I like. As I keep going back to that, I'm like, he was in the thing since the age of 6,
He barely ever moved.
and
didn't
he's like
he knows where to go.
drives the whole fucking.
He
way
knows
to
how to
Illinois.
get there, and he knows how to stalk.
He's been plotting it since the age of 6.
Yeah, but what did he get? One of those little fucking tight cars or something in prison that he could drive around? Like, I'm just trying to
He was
figure
in
out.
prison. He was a mental.
Yeah, but it was a prison too. I mean, it was both. It was maximum security.
Not too
Mental.
maximum security. If they were crazies were out walking around.
Minimum security, yeah.
Which, by the way, they never explained where the fucking nuts came from.
Annie drops off Lindsay at Lori's place, or Tommy's place, I guess. Goes back next door. Her clothes are in the dryer, aren't they? Is that important?
I think that was before. She goes out there and Lindsay comes out and helps her because she's like stuck
She's
out
like
a
stuck
window.
in a window or something.
And she
stupid
tell
like that.
Lindsay, Paul calls, and then Lindsay's like, she was stuck out a window.
Don't tell anyone or
Yeah.
I'll kill you.
Well, Annie gets in the car to get going, and she notices that
Yeah,
the
she
window's
goes
all
back.
fogged.
She goes back to
Yeah.
her to get the laundry because her shirt's
Right.
in there or something.
And then she dies.
Yeah, Michael Myers pops out in the back seat and
Apparently,
chokes her.
he's choking her, but she's breathing.
I'm
so
confused.
He's not doing a very good job of
He
it.
strangles her and then he puts a knife in her neck.
Yeah, finally.
He
just
finally just
yeah.
like this choking thing's not.
That could have been his MO had it worked the first time.
And he's just like, you know,
Just walk around choking people like
the
the Wolfman.
Haddonfield Strangler thing's not working out. Because he literally tries to choke her for about 5 minutes, and she's breathing quite well, actually. You can hear her taking deep breaths as this is going on.
Tommy looks out the window and sees Michael Myers carrying her body back into the house. And he's like, oh my god! And the girl's like, I believe you. And Jamie Lee Curtis was like, it
You
was
stupid
nothing.
fucking
It
kids."
was nothing.
Don't worry about it.
Bob and Linda show up.
show
Yeah,
up and just start fucking.
just hammered on Budweiser, I'm pretty sure.
There's something about Linda. She looks strange to me. I don't know if she is attractive or not.
Well, I think the
weird.
first thing that's weird about them is that they're in high school, but they're clearly in their 30s.
Bob looks like he's
That's the first
Yeah,
problem.
Bob is
old as
something.
hell. Yeah.
These people are clearly like 35 years old.
Well, Bob goes downstairs for a beer, and Michael Myers pops out of a closet and stabs him on a wall. Then he just stares at him like a weirdo.
Yeah, one kitchen knife. It keeps him up on that wall too.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful.
We do get to see Linda's boobs before.
Oh yeah, do you like what you see?
PJ Souls, I'm alright with her.
Eh. Then he chokes her with the phone cord while she's talking to Lori, and it sounds like she's having sex, and Lori's like, shut up.
Yeah, Michael Myers shows up with a robe on his head and
And
Bob's
glasses
glasses.
on the outside. Yeah, it's great.
She's like, Stop playing around, Bob.
It's almost like he killed him. He took the sheet, put it on, then he's like, for an added touch, he's like,
He's just like, all right, fuck this.
He's such a trickster.
So he chokes her, and then she's
She thinks
finally
that,
worried about something.
Lori thinks she's talking to Annie on the phone, making all those noises.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And playing a prank, but she was wrong on both parts.
So she finally does decide she better at least check it out. So she goes next door to check it out, and goes up to the bedroom, and there's that tombstone, Judith Myers' tombstone. And
Yeah.
who's naked on the bed? Or is it Annie that's laying
I
there?
think it's Annie.
Annie's on the bed, and then we get a fun house. Bodies all over
Body's
the fucking place.
falling,
Yeah.
placed perfectly. Michael Myers is pretty good.
Jason style.
Yeah. And then Michael Myers comes out and chases her back to her house.
She gets stabbed once, I think, at some
She
point.
gets swiped at. Yeah.
Right through the arm.
So she gets back to her house. She's screaming her head off, and everybody in the neighborhood is just like, shut up.
Yeah, she knocks on a door and someone like turns a light out and closes a blind on her.
Sorry, this house is for emergencies only.
Go away, please.
So she gets back to her house. Tommy real slowly lets her in. Then he's like, it's a boogeyman, isn't it? Oh.
It's like, yeah, you were right.
Phone line's conveniently cut.
He chases her around in that house for a while.
Where's Loomis at this point? Have they shown him?
He's like searching. He saw the car. He saw the car that he was driving.
Yeah.
And running
Yeah,
around.
it doesn't show him again until near the end.
Yeah,
when he sees
he's
that
like,
car.
the
He
cop,
shoots
go
him.
around the front, or go around the back, and I'll go this way down this street, and we'll meet up at the other side.
Right.
So they chase each other around for a while. She stabs him in the eyes with clothes hangers.
No,
thought
she
that
gets
was-
him with
that
a
was at the
knitting.
end.
She gets him with a knitting needle, like in the neck before
Oh,
that.
that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And then she gets chased upstairs to the closet.
She's in the
At
closet.
what
He
point
opens
does
the
she
door.
send the kids out of the house screaming?
We skipped that.
We did.
I think it was right after she stabbed him the first
Wait,
time.
didn't
Then she
they
sends
run out
him
of the
out,
house
and then they
screaming, and then
go.
that's
Loomis
when Loomis
finds
saw
him.
him?
Yeah. Yeah, after she stabbed him with a
Okay, I'll
needle,
keep
he
going,
was
Joey.
laying there, and she got the kids out.
Yeah, so the kids are out, and Loomis is running over, and that's when she's trapped in the closet and hits him in the eye with the
Clothes
clothes
hanger.
hanger.
First shot, too. It was beautiful.
right through the
Right
freaking
through
eye.
the eye.
And then not
No
long after
blood.
that, Loomis.
There was still no blood. After he got stabbed in the neck and through the eye, I didn't see one drop of blood yet.
Right. And then Loomis, I believe, shoots him like what, 5 times?
Mm.
Is that there, or am I just way off?
No, that's it. He walks in just as he's putting his mask back on, gets shot.
Right. And then Loomis tags him like 3 or 4 times.
I noticed
He
this,
goes out
too.
the window 2 stories.
After Lori stabs him in the neck with the knitting knife, his kitchen knife is right there for the taking beside the couch, and
How many times
leaves
have we
it.
seen this in
She
horror
leaves
movies?
it.
Yeah.
That'd be the smart thing to do, and the movie would be over.
Like in Friday the 13th 3, when
yeah.
she could easily have just picked up his machete and hacked his head off. She decided to like roll him over and then tie a rope around his neck and then like inch him towards the ledge and then push him off for like in a 10-minute sequence that could have just literally hacked us, like that one kid.
oh, there's a second time where I noticed that the knife was laying beside him after she stabs him through the eye with the hanger. There's another machete. I don't know where he got it. He was carrying a bunch of knives on him, I guess, that night.
He stole some knives. Remember, he stole some knives.
That's right. At a hardware store, he got a bunch of kitchen knives.
Yeah. He's out the window, and she says something about it was that the boogeyman, and Loomis is like, I'm afraid it was.
Yeah, he shoots him 8 times. I counted,
Uh-huh.
but he says 6 in the second movie. I
How did he
believe.
get 8 bullets in that gun?
He's a magician.
Everybody in that movie is a magician because they look out the window and he's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, so he's gone. The music starts playing, and
Ding 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 ding.
And that is as far as
Really
John
good
Carpenter.
music.
that is as far as John Carpenter wanted this to go. That is it.
That's the end of it.
He's supposed. What it's supposed to do is give you a feeling of when you leave the theater, he's still out there.
Right.
This movie kicked some ass at the box office, considering how much it was worth.
And I think it cost
It was low budget.
$350,000 to make, and I think I'm not sure what it grossed.
They
I think
used their
it
resources real well.
All the leaves on the ground too were from like 2 or 3 garbage bags they had, and they had to keep kicking them up
Picking
and
them
putting
up
them
and
back in
moving.
and using them.
That's funny. That's funny. I didn't know that.
We'll start with you, Cobra. What do you rank this one? This one's pretty easy to rank.
Yeah,
I
this
think.
is it's a pretty good movie. John Carpenter's music throughout it was awesome, and it started well, I don't know if it started, but it
I would say that
it helped the slasher genre.
Maybe
to
didn't
go
start
with.
it, but it set it in a new direction.
And I would probably give it a 7.5 out of 10. I'm giving it that
7.5.
because I don't like it as much as Friday, and I rated Friday as an 8. So I put it at a 7.5. It's better than a 7.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I remember.
I would have rated it an 8, but I rated Friday the 13th an 8, so I got to put it a little below it.
Okay, well,
But
I'm
I
gonna
enjoyed
say, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. This is my favorite series of any of the slashers. This is my favorite movie of that series. Although number 2 is, I kind of have them tied really. I almost even kind of think of them. I don't know. Those two for me are almost equal. But I give this a 10 out of 10 because it was entertaining. It was suspenseful. They did a lot of new things, I think, and it launched a great franchise.
That's our first 10 out of 10, by the way. So, set off the bells. Hang on. Alright, I'm not going to go that far. This is one of the most perfectly put together horror movies I've ever seen.
10 out of 10.
I'm not giving it a 10 out of 10 because there are other movies I would say I enjoy more. None in the Friday the 13th canon. But that doesn't mean I don't like Friday the 13th, the series, more than I like this series, because I absolutely do. When Friday the 13th shits the bed, at least it stays faithful to what it is. When Halloween shits the bed, it really shits the bed. Part 1 for me, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I think Donald Pleasance is absolutely the top of his... Besides, there's another one in the series I'll get to that I enjoy his performance more than this one, but it's for a different reason. This one, he's at the top of his game. Jamie Lee Curtis is still doing pretty good in this one. She doesn't have the wig that she's about to have in the next one, the very noticeable wig. I think the scares are done well. Everything is minimal. There's not a lot of blood in this movie, if any. A guy gets stabbed to a wall. There's no blood. It's not gruesome or gory. It's just frightening. And at this point, up until the very, very end, this guy is real. He's just a dude. And that's a little bit frightening. So, yeah, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Just because it did start a franchise. I don't think it meant to, but it did, so.
Right.
Alright, now we're going to get to part 2. I got a little bit of background on this. John Carpenter was back for this one. He did not direct it. He was asked to write a sequel. And he said when he sat down to write this sequel, he had no ideas whatsoever. None. So he went the desperate route. And he made Laurie Strode into Michael Myers' sister, which took the randomness of the first one and threw it away.
Well, they had to give him some kind of purpose now, because before, like we said, he was just kind of randomly.
How did he know that it was his sister, though? Wasn't she just like a baby and he just escaped a mental home?
They don't even... Yeah, he doesn't have access to records. He can't drive. He doesn't read a map.
It's like
he
a
can't do anything.
telepathic. It's like a telepathic.
It becomes telepathic later in the series, but then they don't even touch on that either. It just is for a really short period of time. So this one picks up exactly where the last one left off. In fact, they have the last scene to start this movie as he gets shot out the window and he's gone. So there's police everywhere outside and there's panic, and Annie's dad finds out Annie's dead, and instead of inciting a riot or going on a vengeance mission, he decides he's going to go tell her mom, which is pretty realistic.
Well, first of all, the news and the radio have already been talking about all these murders, and this cop in Loomis, he's the head of the sheriff department in town, doesn't know that all this is going on and his daughter's dead yet. But
well, they wouldn't release
breaking
names
news,
like that, not right away.
But they didn't even know what was going on, and the
Loomis
news was
did,
already
but...
covering. Because that's actually way later on in the movie that he comes
But
to get
I
his
think
daughter.
it's really the very beginning of Halloween. Well, it's the end of Halloween 1, and then the beginning of Halloween 2 that it's kind of confirmed, like, there's a little bit more going on here. This is not a regular person, because he's been stabbed in the neck, stabbed in the eye, he's been shot about 5 times by Loomis.
Which he tells everybody that he can. I shot him 5 times in the chest.
He's like, I got that son of a bitch. You're right, he's like, I shot him, I got him right here.
Yeah.
Michael Myers steals a knife from an old woman cooking food for her husband, too.
He just goes in and out of houses all over the neighborhood.
All over the
He
neighborhood.
picks up that knife, yeah.
And he stabs some random girl
Alice.
for no
I
reason.
did pick up her name, was Alice.
Why did they give her a name?
She was talking on the phone to somebody, I think.
And why did he kill her?
Well, now we're getting into a situation where he's no longer
Focused.
he's unfocused. He got shot, fell out a window, and now he's just kill, kill, kill.
Yeah.
Kill like crazy.
Lori gets pulled out on a stretcher. That's when,
And she's going to the hospital.
yeah, the cop sees Annie, and he's like, oh, I gotta go tell my wife, even though it's been on the 6 o'clock news for
Again, though,
An
his
hour.
wife wouldn't know what the hell was going on.
After
Yeah,
Yeah,
that,
well, you know what? Not
they
a whole
showed
lot
the-
goes on at the beginning.
Somebody gets... Oh, the guy that Lori was going to hook up with in the first one?
Ben Tramer.
Ben Tramer gets just exploded into. Remember that?
Yeah, Loomis, he's in a Michael Myers, or he's in
That's so
the
funny.
mask, and Loomis is going after him with a gun, and Ben Tramer, apparently, you find out later, he was drunk leaving a party, runs into traffic, and an oncoming cop just smashes him into a
Smashes him into
But
a
van.
here's the
another
thing, the
van.
van
And
is sitting
explodes.
still, right? The cop car does not swerve. It's
Not at
going
all.
100 miles an hour down the road, right into the back of a van.
And
So
the-
it was going to hit it anyway.
And the cop is yelling at Loomis, "Is that Michael Myers?" He's like 20 feet away. The guy's burning behind a mask. He's like, "Is that Myers?" Loomis is like, "I can't tell." No shit. How the fuck are you gonna identify someone burning behind a mask?
I love that. He just fucking nails him.
Yeah.
Like 90 miles an hour. Like,
What the fuck was that cop doing?
Trying
He's
to
like, I'm
crush
gonna
him.
hit that van. I've had enough of my life. Blew shit up.
Sat there and burnt.
I thought he like wandered around on fire and then fell over. But that's later in the movie.
That was yeah.
Okay.
No, he just sits there like between the van and the
Oh,
fucking car.
I think
car
we
and
just
clicks.
found foreshadowing.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
That's not foreshadowing.
Well, it's a guy in a Michael Myers suit on fire.
You know what foreshadowing is?
I do know what it is.
When
That would be what that is.
Mercutio says in Romeo and Juliet, "Tomorrow will be a great man," and then Tybalt kills him. That's foreshadowing, my friend.
It's a prime example.
Cool fucking story.
Thank you. I am very versed.
It's a classic.
I'm gonna give you the Marconi Award for the night.
I'm
for
showing off my Bill
podcasts.
Shakespeare.
Jamie Lee Curtis is at the hospital.
Bud, the perv one.
Uh-huh.
Wait,
yeah.
I gotta just quote one of the songs he sings
Okay.
when the hot nurse shows up. "Amazing Grace, come sit on my face. Don't make me cry. I need your pie."
Oh, my.
Get away.
Oh
Cat.
yeah, he was singing it to that other kid, the creepy kid that always was checking on Lori.
Amazing Grace, come sit on my face. Wait, say it again.
Yeah, Amazing Grace, come sit on my face. Don't make me cry. I need your pie.
Mm-hmm. I want some
Oh.
sweet pie.
Okay.
Michael Myers is now at the hospital, I believe.
Yeah.
Lurking in and out.
Just killing everything and everyone. Why? Who knows? Just to do it. It's a graveyard shift.
Yeah, there's a fat
Well.
cop that he goes out and investigates.
Yeah.
He's not the typical cops we've dealt with, a bumbling, fat imbecile.
Yeah. If you were a capable police officer at that time, you were not hired.
No.
So
It's like, are you competent in any way? Do
I
you know how to
think so.
investigate crimes?
wander
you-
outside
Yeah,
with no abandoned
He's not
and a broken
significant. He
flashlight.
catches the backside, the claw side of the hammer right to the head, and he's dead.
Wasn't he also hanged by an electric cord?
He may have been.
I didn't see that, but I don't know.
Maybe I thought he.
I know he got a claw hammer to the head.
Because somebody comes in on his body a little bit later and he's hanging from the cord.
Might be a funhouse.
It's kind of like
Incident.
it's a funhouse thing.
So Dr. Loomis is trying to get to the hospital, but doesn't he like pull a gun on somebody to get them to drive him where he wants to
Yeah,
go?
they're taking him back to the.
They're trying to take him back to Smith's Grove,
Yes, because
and he's like, "Take me to the school."
they don't want any more publicity with
Now
the Michael
tell me
Myers
this: why did
incident.
they go to the school?
I have no idea.
I can't remember this at all. Why they're at the
No.
school?
But Michael Myers was there with a knife through Lori that we find out now that it's his little sister that he's after, sort
So
of.
stupid.
Because she has like a dream sequence
Yeah.
where she sees Michael, she goes visit him at the
And again,
home.
even if this is an acceptable explanation that he's after his sister, that would mean that he shouldn't be killing anybody else, just randomly. He shouldn't be walking into somebody's house and stabbing them while they're on the phone. So he gets to the hospital. He kills. There's two people getting up in the hot tub.
Bud and
Yeah.
the nurse.
Is that the guy with the pie?
Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
guy that said
yeah,
the
so-
fight. Him and the nurse meet down in the hall. She leaves the kids. She's like, I can't leave the kids.
Yes,
15
again.
minutes later,
Yeah.
she's like, yeah, let's go to
Yes,
the hot tub. I'll leave the door open. No, it closes. You can't hear them. We do see her boobs, though.
A little bit. They're floating, aren't they?
They're big. No, she takes the robe off right before she gets
yeah.
in. They're big. Big boobs.
It's the whole reason she's even there, I think.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to. Get
The water
something.
gets too hot, and Bud goes and tries to put the water down, and Michael Myers shows up and
Kills him in the background.
strangles
That's
him,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
while the woman's getting out. It
Yeah.
is cool. And then he walks through the door, and she doesn't look back, apparently.
He's
and-
giving her a back massage.
yeah,
which
she's
is really
nibbling on his dirty
strange
fucking
and-
hands and
That was
kissing
weird.
them.
That was
Yeah.
weird. I thought that was really weird. He's like holding her and like.
He's like,
caressing
oh, this
her.
is pretty cool.
And
And then
she's
he's like,
like-
oh wait, no.
Yeah, she's like licking his fingers.
Licking
like,
his fingers.
"Ah."
It's like, who
Let me
knows what
taste
those have
that
been.
blood and fucking pus from whatever.
Yeah, I know. It's gross. And then she realizes, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's not right. And then she dies.
And Bud didn't
Too
turn
late,
down
yeah.
the water because he beats her face in the scalding hot water, just keeps dunking her, and
And
her
then she
face
just-
fries off.
It's like all beet red, like a lobster.
So Loomis is heading back to the hospital.
Well, there's that whole
Some
sequence.
doctor
I just love it though.
mixed her.
The first scene at the
Is
hospital
dead.
with Michael Myers when he just walks through the fucking.
That's so stupid.
He just walks through the glass. Do you remember that?
Oh, he's like,
He just
It's
walks.
like the shark.
that's
in Jaws
later on
3.
though when Loomis and Laurie are running from him.
Oh,
Yeah, I know that's
He's
later
like-
on, but like
He just bumps it and it just shatters.
he just walks through it. I remembered that. It was so funny. That was a little
Yeah.
far-fetched.
Really delicate glass.
Some nurse goes to find Dr. Mixter, and he's dead with a syringe through a needle through his head.
Yeah.
And she turns around and she gets the same treatment, a big needle through her head, and she's dead.
Yeah.
Just 2 more kills to throw in there. Not significant whatsoever.
Body counts.
Yeah, I just forget about him.
Yeah,
Just
and then
kinda-
Michael Myers finds Laurie's room, and he goes in and starts stabbing it, and realizes there's pillows
Pillows.
under there.
So somehow
She did the old
Laurie figured
switcheroo.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
somehow Laurie figured out something was wrong and got out of there on time.
Yeah.
Crawls away with her ugly wig. It's so distracting. You know that's not her hair.
So we have this huge sequence now. Really, the rest of the movie takes place in the hospital.
Mm.
I don't think they go back outside again. Well, there is one scene
Yeah,
where the guy
Laurie
slips
goes
in the
out.
blood, cracks his head open, he's sitting in the car.
They try to get away, but he has a concussion and passes
He
out
just
or
passes
something.
out in the car. Or
But he
whatever.
lives, I guess, because they never pan back to
Yeah,
that
I
guy.
mean, good for him.
Oh, wait, whenever they're out in the car, a nurse goes out there and all the tires are flat in the parking lot. Michael Myers has let the air out of every car in the parking lot.
It's funny because you could still drive the car.
Yeah, but before
You wouldn't get far, but
before
you
he
could
goes
still
in
Can you
there, he
imagine
let
that
all
scene?
the
Imagine filming that scene. He's walking around stabbing every single fucking tire.
He's just like,
nobody noticed. The hospital wasn't that busy that night, I guess.
I think you don't see any other patients.
No,
The
you
only
don't.
patient in there is Laurie.
You see some random kid at the beginning that like has a razor or something on his mouth, but he leaves the hospital and
Yeah.
they never touch back on any of it. I don't know
No.
why.
So does Loomis show up at the hospital at that point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Laurie's like outside crawling, screaming.
Yeah.
She sees Michael
for some
Myers.
reason they go back in.
Yeah,
That's a little
because they're
strange.
back in the hospital. Because Loomis and the other cop that he was going to shoot if he didn't take him back to town all go in the hospital looking for Michael Myers, but he's outside, and so is Laurie, and she crawls to the door and gets let in to the hospital.
Right.
Here. And that's when he chest bumps
Chest bumps through the
bumps the
glass.
window and
He's
comes
just like
in.
walking up. He's just like.
the door. He didn't even try to see if it was locked. I don't think he just busts through.
Yeah, he chases them around for a while, and they end up in a room full of oxygen.
Yeah, Loomis shoots him actually before that,
In
and the
the
cop
eyes.
gets real close
Yeah.
to him, and the cop, he's like, he's not dead yet, and he's like, he's not breathing, and all of a sudden Myers grabs him and kills him
Yeah.
with a knife.
I
right
would not
across
be
the
checking
throat.
his pulse.
Hell
And that's
no.
when they run to the
It's the,
The
oxygen,
oxygen
room.
room.
That's just what we'll call it.
yeah,
So
the
they're in this
gassing
this oxygen room, and Loomis hits him once in each eye. Yeah, that doesn't kill him.
So stupid. He's got blood.
room. I
coming
thought
down his
Laurie
mouth.
shot him.
Yeah,
Loomis
Laurie-
got stabbed, and he was
That's
kind of,
right,
he fell
yeah.
over.
Laurie
Which is
shoots him.
absolutely absurd. You're telling me this girl who's probably never seen a gun before, let alone used one, shoots him twice in the eyes under
Once-
that much duress?
Once in each eye, just
Yeah.
right through each eye.
Which, by the way, doesn't affect him later on at all.
No, he's
At
still
this point, he's
swiping with a
blind.
knife
Yeah, at this point, he's blind. He's
50
swiping in
times around
air.
the room.
Yeah,
trying
he's
to
just
find
walking
somebody.
around,
It's so stupid.
moving that arm back and
So
forth. He's got a
stupid.
scalpel, which really wouldn't even really kill you. I mean,
He
unless
keeps
you-
hearing people moving around, so he turns around, walks the other direction. They turn on all the oxygen. Laurie gets out of there, and Loomis lights a
Lights a
match.
match.
He goes, no, he lights a lighter.
Lighter,
He goes,
yeah.
Michael, it's time. And then the entire room explodes. And Loomis is obviously dead.
Yeah,
Or so-
Loomis is dead, and Michael Myers is dead.
Except you see his corpse walking out on fire as Laurie's crawling away,
Yeah.
and he falls over.
That's- yeah.
So
And then he falls over.
But he's not moving. He's burning, and he's
He's
not moving.
cooking away, and I think
That's it. The series is
it's over. It's done. He's been shot twice in the head, 6 times in the chest. He was just immolated in a
The
room.
PCP has worn off.
PCP is done.
Yeah. What happens to Lori after that? She just gets in an ambulance and leaves?
I guess. Who
Yeah,
cares? It's
that's
not
all
even
I really
important
have.
now.
Yeah.
The movie's over. So then they just show kind of like a close-up of his face and his mask is melting off. And I mean, that's pretty much it.
That's it. That's Halloween 2. It works good with part 1, but it takes a different direction. So, alright, give me a review on this one. Cobra, what do you think?
There were some good death scenes in it. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I do like it. It was my favorite Halloween growing up as a kid. It's not as good as the original going back and watching it, but it was solid. I give it a 7 out of 10.
I'd give it a 7, too. I thought there were some parts of it where they kind of got away from what I thought was a winning formula in the first one. They kind of just, I don't know, they went down a different road. Kind of the problems we see later on in the series where it just gets more and more ridiculous. I think they kind of started in this movie. They weren't overblown, but you definitely start to see it. It's like, okay, he's been shot twice now in base. What's going on here? And the whole sister connection thing was forced, obviously. But yeah, I mean, this was the first Halloween movie I ever saw. And I look back on it with a lot of, nostalgia. I like it. I thought that, for the most part, the hospital sequence was pretty good. It was suspenseful. The ending scene where he's slashing blind. If you can lock out of your mind the fact that he'd actually been shot in the head twice to make that happen, then it's pretty good. They could have come up with something better, like pepper spray, or I don't know. But yeah, like they could have maybe been a little bit more realistic on that account. But I think by this point, realism was no longer a concern of theirs. It was just churn out the movies and make some money. So yeah, I think 7 out of 10 is fair for this movie. It's a really good sequel. I think in terms of sequels for horror movies, this one does pretty well. With a lot of the other ones, they don't do well at all. They just get weirder and weirder. This one started to get weirder, but it's...
That's it for this week. It's the most humane person I've ever met, Ben. He finally decided to buy these cats some food. So he had been throwing them pretzels and whatever else he could get.
French fries.
French fries. All right, so next week we'll be doing Halloween 3
Will we? Good, I like
and
that.
Halloween 4. However, so see you next week. Goodbye.
Fairly well. What if none of it recorded? How funny would that be?
It's got the red light on. We're good. Goodbye.